Hey BookTube, welcome to Jackie's Literary Corner. I am Jackie, and it's time for another book tag. And this is the Christmas Carol book tag. Like everybody else, I love Christmas Carol, and my first exposure to the story was all the adaptations. And then one day, I finally read the book. That was a few years ago, probably more than a few, because when I think of the word a few, I think of three. But I guess I'm the only one who thinks that way because someone, I think my mom or someone told me, well, few also means three or more. And to me, that's more like several. But anyway, I read the book in that big leather-bound Barnes & Noble omnibus edition with a handful of Dickens' novels. Not a lot, not all of them, but just some of them. And the Christmas Carol was included. And then earlier this year, I decided I wanted a more portable copy of it, especially since I'm getting more into Dickens. So it was either this one or the Penguin English Library edition of the Christmas Carol. But I chose this one because I love purple a little bit more than blue, because the Penguin English Library one is blue, although that one is beautiful too. But I wanted one of these, and I want to start collecting them along with the English Library books. And I actually almost bought the book Hard Times by Dickens in the Vintage Classics edition, but I decided to get the English Library edition of that one. Anyway, so here are the questions, and some of these books I don't actually have in my possession anymore. But some of the questions are related to books that are coming out, like new releases. Okay, so question number 1. The Ghost of Christmas Past. A book that was a childhood favorite, and this is the one that I don't have anymore, but that was Miss Piggly Wiggly. I don't remember the author's name. I did recently look up the book on Goodreads, and I found it. And the thing about Goodreads is you have to get the exact title. Like every word in the title has to be exactly how the title is spelled, because apparently there are so many different ones with similar titles or something. So it took me a while to find it, but I did find it on Goodreads and marked it as read, or that I want to read again. But it was basically a kind of a Mary Poppins, Nanny McPhee type story with no magic, where you have this nanny who shows up. This elderly woman, like, I imagine Miss, what's her name? The woman who played Miss Potts. Angela Lansbury would play a good, Miss Piggly Wiggly. Although now I think who just passed away, the woman that just passed away recently, not her daughter, but, she played Aggie Cromwell in, the Halloween Town franchise on Disney Channel. I cannot believe it's like right at the tip of my tongue, her name, but I can't even remember the daughter's name either. But that actress would also play good. Would have been a good Miss Piggly Wiggly if they ever made it into a movie. But it's a series. I think it's a series of books actually. But it's this nanny that teaches children in very unique ways. I remember the one that I remember that for some reason sticks out the most to me, and maybe it's because my floor is not a mess, but I do have a lot of clutter on my desk, on my desk and stuff. And maybe that's why this particular one sticks out to me, but where this little boy never cleaned up his room. There was so much clutter on the floor that she was like, okay, fine, then you don't have to clean your room. And it got so bad that it got really uncomfortable. He couldn't walk around his room. He couldn't sleep in his room because there was so much clutter, and he never cleaned it up to the point where he finally cleaned it up. And that was her way of teaching the lesson: is you have to live with this thing you don't like, and then this thing that you don't do, like not taking your medicine, not cleaning your room, and then you find out the end result is that you find out you don't like it after all, and you're not content with it, because there are consequences to every choice you make. And it was a cute little series of books. And another childhood favorite actually was the Mr. and Miss, Little Miss and Little Mr. books, whereas these little creatures that were these different shapes, like circles and squares and triangles, and they were like little people. They were human. They had human qualities, like Little Miss Sunshine or Little Mr. Grumpy Pants or something. And I don't remember. I just remember there were these. I don't remember what each of the stories was about. It's like their day-to-day lives, and maybe there was a lesson. I just remember really having fun with those, and I had a whole bunch of those. Now, I don't know if those were ones we got rid of or not. We saved some of our childhood books for, because my sister now has kids. My mom keeps them in the guest room where my sister and brother-in-law sleep whenever they come and visit. But we didn't save a lot of them. We got rid of most of them. Like, I think because my mom had asked if my sister wanted them for when she has kids, and she said no, and now she has kids, and she's buying them, books. And I guess she didn't want to have to save them because, who knows what will happen in the future, and who would have known what would happen in the future, like if she would have kids, all that. I'm sure she wanted them, of course. And now she has 3 little, adorable little kids, and I think she just wants to buy them the books herself, or we can people can always rebuy books. That's what people always say when you're trying to decide about getting rid of books. You can always rebuy them. My problem is I haven't read most of the books on my shelf because I just keep buying more, and of course my mom's solution is not to buy more. But that's not going to happen. Anyway. So, now on to question number 2. The Ghost of Christmas Present. Which might I play the Ghost of Christmas Present in a production of this novel in a play at our local community theater. He was the ghost. He wore the whole fur green coat and everything. And my dad had like the perfect. I feel like, maybe I'm a little biased, but I do feel like he does have the perfect baritone for that character. Like he has a very deep voice, but not super deep, but I think deep enough. And of course, my dad was good with projection and stuff like that. But of course, I'm a little biased. Okay, a recent book that you think that will become one of your all-time favorites. And I actually put 2 books. I put 2 books on here. One of them I'm almost finished with, but I still got a long way to go, and I'm probably not going to finish by the end of the month. Unless I read only this book the rest of the month, which is not going to happen. It is The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas. About a man who is convicted of treason and being a Bonapartist. And is thrown in prison and then escapes and decides to take revenge on the people who are responsible for throwing him in prison and accusing him. And this is such a great novel, so much fun. It's just really long and very dense. And there are sometimes parts that do kind of like, okay, is this relevant? Why are we talking? Why is this? What's going on here? Like, what's the point of talking about this part? But I'm still loving it. It's just, even if I love a book, if it's long like this, it's going to still take me forever to read it. But yeah. And then the other one I said was Anna Karenina, which I've obviously started too. And I did get spoiled for one aspect, but I'm kind of relieved I did. Because now I know that this particular thing, and this is how it's going to turn out. And I don't even know exactly how things are going to turn out. But I also kind of got spoiled anyway years ago when I watched this video that was comparing, Dickens and Tolstoy, and who is the favorite author between these two. And like they said in the introduction, I feel like that's a question you can't really ask because they're such different writers and it's a different setting and different types of stories. And they both have different styles of writing, so it's hard to compare. It's just, it's like comparing a comedy to a drama. Although people do have their preferences. Like some people prefer comedy and some people prefer drama, and some people like me prefer both, who love both. But, at least in movies anyway. But anyway, so I kind of got a little hint of what's to come, and that's when I realized, when I learned that there is so much more than just this romance between Anna Karenina and this one dude. But and this is just really, so far I'm really like, oh, I also love the print in this copy. But anyway, and obviously it's the same with this one because these are both from the same kind of collection. They're both vintage classics. But anyway, I feel like this is going to be a favorite too, and it's not as long as War and Peace, so it won't take me as long to read this one. It will still take me a long time, but like War and Peace will still take me just a little bit longer, I think. But I just feel like this story, and I'm really intrigued by Russian literature. I definitely I loved Crime and Punishment. I want to read more Russian literature, and I also read two of Dostoevsky's novellas as well, and I liked those. They weren't my favorites, but I still liked them. But yeah, I just with the love story, and I think this would be perfect for me to read. And this is perfect for this time of year. I don't know if I'll finish it this time of year, but when I think of Russia, I think of winter, cold weather and stuff. But I mean, I know that they have spring and summer, they have all the seasons, but I just think of winter with Russia. And I just this is a love story, and obviously it's a very epic one. So I'm not totally against romance. I've been adamant to say that I don't like reading romance, but it's more I don't like those fluffy contemporary romances. I think, and also I have to decide to read it myself. I don't like being, told, oh, you should read something, even if they're not forcing me to read it. They're not, they don't have me, tied up and saying you have to read this. I still don't like being told. I want to discover it on my own. But yeah, I feel like this will be a favorite too, along with War and Peace. Okay, so next question is question number 2. Oh, wow, only 2. And I've already talked a whole lot. Okay, so question number 3. The Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come. The creepiest ghost in the whole story. A book coming out next year that you're most excited about, and I'm going to say Rule of Wolves, because I love King of Scars. I'm one of the few people who did. A lot of people are disappointed by it. I think it's partly because of, it wasn't just about, the marketing team said it was the Nikolai book, and it isn't just about Nikolai, it's also about Zoya and Nina. And also I think a lot of people are disappointed by the climax and the end of the book, what ended up happening. A lot of people were not happy about that, but I personally loved it, and I was okay with that, and what happened in the story, what happened towards the end of the book, And it's only a duology, it's only 2 books, so I think people, so even if I didn't love it that much, I would still, I would have to, really not like it to not want to read the next book. But, I did love it, and I do want to read the next one, which is called Rule of Wolves, and I don't know what's going to happen, and, it actually, what ended up happening at the end of the book kind of got me thinking about my, wheels spinning, and thinking about ideas of what they could do, what the direction they could go in with this story, and how certain things happened in the book. And there's also, it would work well for drama for my ship, the ship I'm supporting in the book right now, the one that I'm hoping. And I think most people ship them. I don't know if maybe I'm just wishful thinking, but anyway, so as you can see, I don't have it because it's a new release and it hasn't come out yet. So it's going to come out, I just found out, I think it's coming out I think the person whoever I watched that mentioned new releases, I think it's going to be coming out in March. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I think I heard someone say that March is when it's going to come out. It was either Haley in Bookland, Sam from Thoughts and Tomes, or Elliot Brooks who mentioned it, because I know all 3 of them have done new releases they're excited for videos. I don't remember which one, but I know one of them mentioned that's coming out in March. Maybe Emily Fox. dang, that's gonna bug me until I remember, but I believe it's March. Okay, so, yep. So question number 4. Oh, this one, I don't think I need an answer for this one. Bah Humbug. Which I think in the Hallmark movie that premiered last night, had a Scrooge character. Christmas in Evergreen, the bells are ringing. It's a series of movies about the little town in Vermont called Evergreen, and you know how small towns and wholesome movies are. They're happy and perky, and the cranky character, the cantankerous character, whatever, is magically charmed by the little town all of a sudden. I think that's what that one was about, like a character, a Scrooge type character who was charmed by the town and ends up changing his mind at the thing he's against in the plot. But other than Christmas. But yeah, I think there was a Scrooge character in that movie. But anyway, a book that everyone loves that you just can't stand, and I don't have an answer for this. I really generally don't. I mean, I'm sure there are books I don't like, but I can't think of a book that everyone loves that I don't like. Because I just can't think of one. I mean, there have been books I've been hesitant to read just because everyone is talking about them, and I guess, like I said, I'm a hypocrite because I say that I don't fall for hype. Hype doesn't affect my opinion, but unfortunately, I'm pretty sure it does, to an extent. And I usually, a lot of times I give into the hype. But I'm not one of those people who's like gets disappointed when a book is hyped up and then I read and I'm like, oh, it's okay. But I get people that are like reluctant, because yeah, sometimes you hype it up in your head so much and then you read it and it's like, oh, well, it's good, but it's not like wow. But I try to have the mentality of not to let the hype get to me, not to be like get all hyped up in my book. And most of the time, I'm usually pretty happy anyway. But, so I don't really have an answer for this one. There's never been a book that I'm absolutely like, I hate this book. I mean, again, there are books that I get annoyed when people obsess over them, and I feel pressure to read it, and sometimes I'm determined not to read it, But anyway, so I don't have an answer for this one. Okay, and then next question is question number 5. Bob Cratchit, an old dependable that you always recommend. And I don't like these type of questions. I mean, because like I feel like everybody's taste is so different, and it's all subjective, and everyone has different tastes, and it's just hard to pick a book that everybody will love. And the same with my friends. Not all of them have such different tastes. All 3 of them do, and I don't. And even though they all are interested in reading, some of them I'm still trying to figure out their interests, the types of books that they like. So I've never found a universal book that I'll recommend because, everybody has different taste. And I don't like those questions because I think it's impossible to answer that question. I mean, yeah, you could give an answer but you will probably say a book that you love that you think everybody will love, but not necessarily. I mean, each of the booktubers I watch, like, yeah, we have a lot of books in common. A lot of the booktubers I watch, I pick them because I have a lot of books in common with them. But then, and a lot of times they get me to check out all these other books that they love. But there's always gonna be a book that they love that I don't love, or that I have no interest in that subject matter. I feel like it's just hard to pick a book that you could recommend to everybody, or that you always recommend, because I have, everybody in my life has different tastes, and like there was a video that Steve Donahue did where, with a similar kind of question, we're asking, or either that, or he was talking about something where this came up, the idea of recommending books, and he was saying that he can't just recommend any book to any customer. That when he was working in the book retail, he would feel like he would have to ask them questions. Like, What's your favorite genre? What do you like to read normally? If you don't read but want to get into reading, what's your favorite subject in school? What do you watch on TV? What's your favorite movie, Or what things are you interested in? What types of things, I feel like you have to ask them questions. And let me look at So you can't, I feel like there's not a book I can always recommend. I don't always recommend the same book. And I also don't recommend books that often. Because as I said earlier, I don't like it when people are like, you should read this book. I think you'll like it. Although I've kind of done a little bit of recommending, but that's because, I'm so excited that my friends are getting even more into reading. And, like Larissa, and when Larissa, she's the latest friend that's kind of getting more into reading and trying to put more time into reading. And I just got really excited that she's going to read more. And she also stumbled on Libby and the Libby app so she's like, and I even suggested thrift books to her, and I also suggested thrift books to the other girls, the other two as well, Therese and Terry, because I just get so excited. So I understand the feeling of wanting to recommend a book to someone or a TV show or a movie because you just get so excited and you want to talk to someone about it. But then, of course, what I ended up doing is just recommending her a whole bunch of books. I didn't just recommend the same book every time. Now, there are a few books to her that I recommend I really think she would like, that I recommended to her more than once, but, it's been a long time, so she probably doesn't remember. But, like, Vicious by V. Schwab and Marissa Meyer's The Renegade trilogy, I recommend those to her. I recommend those to her twice because I just feel like she would, especially being someone who loves Marvel, I feel like those books, they're superheroes in a way. Although the Vicious trilogy, because that's a trilogy, is not technically superheroes, but it's close enough. But like I said, I don't recommend books that often anyway, and I feel like there's not one book I can always recommend to everybody. I feel like I can't. So that's my long-winded answer to that question, but of course my answers are always long-winded anyway. So question number 6, and I think I have an answer. Do I have this one? Oh, yep, I do. Tiny Tim. God bless us everyone. That's my attempt at a British accent, which is really bad. An underhyped book that you think deserves more love. And I haven't heard a lot about this book. I mostly hear about the musical version of it. But I remember when I read this book, I loved it. And, the musical and this book are very different. They have the same basic story, but certain things are different. And I don't hear a lot about this book on BookTube. Of course, in fact, I don't hear a lot about this author's books on BookTube. But that's Gregory Maguire's Wicked. This is the origin story of the Wicked Witch of the West. It's a little more political and a little darker. And it's about Elphaba and her not being able to fit in. She's an outcast. And she is, actually, I wonder who could, I think someone that might be able to take on the story, I don't know though, is if they ever made a movie version of the musical, is Tim Burton, because he's, I was recently watching on Netflix, there's a documentary series about, movies that made us, and for Christmas they talked about Elf, and Nightmare Before Christmas, and talk about how in Nightmare Before, that Tim Burton is a bit of an outsider, and Tim Burton, Henry Selick, Selznick, and I can't remember the guy who, for some reason I can't think of his name, the guy who wrote the music and stuff, they're all like outsiders. And that's what Tim Burton is known for, stories about outsiders, people that are different. And, Elphaba is an outsider. She's different. So I wonder if he wouldn't mind. I mean, I don't know, maybe the style would not fit it. His style would not fit the story, but but like I said, Elphaba, it's how she became to be so wicked and what happened to her sister, and you know, the idea of like, going by the cover that her and Galinda, or Galinda as she was known back then, were friends at one time. They had a very interesting friendship, and then what eventually drove them apart. And like all the thing, why they have the talking animals that walk around like humans, and the whole thing with the wizard and all that. And this is just a very interesting take on the story. A little bit darker, and like I said, darker than the musical. And like I said, more political turmoil and stuff, more details on, and they have animal rights in here, talk about that. It's such an interesting take on how, on Wizard of Oz and the possible story of the Wicked Witch. And I'm always looking out for retellings for the story, for the Wizard of Oz. Like, I did read the first 2 books in the Dorothy Must Die series. I never continued with it. I kind of lost interest, which was fun. It was a fun series, and I might want to give it another shot and try some other. But as much as I hate to admit, I am kind of moving away from the whole YA, category in books. But, I mean, I still believe that it depends on, I don't think I'll ever totally move away from YA, and I feel like it will depend on the book. But also, I love this edition, it has the green pages. But I mean, I feel like sometimes you don't see that often unless you get a book box. Like you do a book subscription box, then you'll get it. But I'm trying to collect all the Wicked books because there are 4 books in this edition, and although I keep passing up on Line Among Men, I keep passing up on that, and I need to buy it, but it's just all of a sudden I'll see other books that I'm more interested in. And last time I went, the other day, I was like, my mom, was like, can you just get 2 books because I'm getting books for Christmas. But, so I haven't bought Line Among Men yet, but I do have this one and Son of a Witch. But you could read this as a standalone. It's so, like I said, it's so interesting. An interesting take on the story of the Wicked Witch. And I love villain origin stories. Now, sometimes they can take it too far, like a certain show on ABC. But I think they could have done it better with her character, on that show. With both witches in that show, they could have done so much better with them. And the Evil Queen story in that show was, I still love that one. It's just there are certain aspects of it that it was like, of course I was also biased to Rumpelstiltskin's character, but anyway, yeah, this is so good. I think there should be more talk about this in his other books, because all his books are retellings. Like, there's Confessions of an Ugly Stepsister, which is a retelling of Cinderella, but for the stepsister's eyes, one of the stepsisters. Mirror Mirror is a retelling of Snow White, but with Italian Renaissance, so it's more historical fiction. Then you have Hidden Sea, which is the origin story of the Nutcracker. And then I think Lost, which actually I just remembered I wanted to read that this winter. This Christmas. I totally forgot about that. From what I know about that one, that's kind of a Jack the Ripper I want to say there's a bit of a Dickinson vibe to it as well. Like Christmas Carol related. But I think there's also it's a combo of Christmas Carol and Jack the Ripper story. At least that's what I got from the back. And After Alice is the story of is a retelling of Alice in Wonderland, but through about another girl who falls down the rabbit hole after Alice. Hence the title After Alice. And I think that's all of his books. Other than, there's After Wicked, there's Son of a Witch, which is about this young man who might be Elphaba's son. And then You have Lion Among Men is about the Cowardly Lion, and then I have not read Out of Oz, but I'm guessing it's a culmination of all the characters and bringing them all together. And like, there's, I think, if I remember correctly, there's like war looming in Oz at the time. But anyway, okay. Now to question 7. I'm finally question 7. Today, why it's Christmas Day. What's a book that always gets you in the mood for Christmas? Apart from A Christmas Carol, and I don't really have one. I don't have an answer for this one either, because, you know, I don't read what is traditionally considered, like, the books that come out around this time, and what gets me in the mood for Christmas is usually Hallmark Countdown to Christmas, and Christmas movies that I have. Christmas books don't get me into, I mean, this is the first Christmassy, book that I've read, and then Hidden Sea is kind of Christmassy book too, but that's in my donation pile. I mean, that might have already been donated. I actually don't know if it's in there. I'm gonna have to double check and see if it's actually still in the pile. But and I like that one, but I didn't absolutely love it. I don't feel the desire to keep it. But yeah, I don't read Christmas books. I just read whatever I want to read. So it depends on the mood I'm in. But, so I don't really have a Christmas book that gets me in the mood, a book that gets me in the mood for Christmas. I have, like I said, movies and TV shows that get me in the mood for Christmas. Okay, so question number 8. The Muppet Christmas Carol, your favorite film adaptation. Well, first of all, like most people, The Muppet Christmas Carol is a favorite, but I also like the musical. Christmas Carol, A Christmas Carol, the musical, starring Kelsey Grammer, Jane Krakowski as the Ghost of Christmas Past. I always forget his name, but the guy from Rent, the guy who played Tom Collins in Rent, he plays the Ghost of Christmas Present, and I think he was also on the show Ally McBeal from the 90s, on Fox, but, he's in it. I can't think of who else is in it. I think those are the only known names. But I love that one. Of course, I love Mickey's Christmas Carol with Scrooge McDuck and Mickey as Bob Cratchit, and Donald Duck, not Daffy. Daffy's Looney Tunes. Donald Duck as the nephew. I can't think of who else, but yeah, I love the musical version because I'm a sucker for musicals. And the music's so beautiful, especially the final song at the end. That is just, it always gets me emotional every time I get the final song. And I didn't ask for that one along with the Christmas Carol. I added that to my Amazon wish list at the last second. Like, I'm still kind of adding stuff, even though I probably shouldn't. I should stop. But at least for next year anyway. Because so yeah, other than the Muppet Christmas Carol, I love Christmas Carol the musical. Okay, and then I'm not going to do question number 9, which is tag people, but if you guys want to do it, consider yourself tagged. It's a fun tag, and especially if you love Christmas Carol. And I will talk to you all later. I hope you are, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, click subscribe if you haven't already, click the bell notification below if you want to be notified when I post new videos. I hope you are wearing your mask whenever you go out and you're staying 6 feet apart from people and always washing your hands and using hand sanitizer and being kind to everyone, especially this time of year. You could at least. And I will talk to y'all later. Alright, bye!